How's that? That's for YouTube. I love it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. This is David John Clark, your late bloomer actor, and I'm the host of this podcast, quite obviously. Hey, today we're chatting to a South Australian. We're bringing it back home and talking to Mr. Vincent John Donato. He's an Australian actor, model, voice artist, director, and writer. He's appeared on television and in the screen in iconic Australian movies and series such as Wanted, Storm Boy, and Heaven's Burning. He's also voiced two characters in The Phoenix Files, which is an Australian podcast based on Chris Morphew's Phoenix Files novels. Vincent is a father of two teenage children and is happily married to Jo Donato, who's also an author of Crossfire and Secrets. I first met Vincent back on the set of Legacy, which was a student film where his son Ethan played my younger son. And we also appeared in two movies of that year, Charlotte and Shrapnel. Vincent also wrote and directed Wrong Tracks and a web series Stuck Together in 2020. This is a great insightful chat we have, as I said, very close to home. We've got a lot to do with each other. So I wanted to chat to him about his experience on set and what he's getting out of acting and where he wants to take it. So I hope you enjoy. And I just want to quickly say, again, I always like to reiterate, thank you very much for listening to the podcast. I would love to see some reviews if you can. Jump on your websites, your podcast players, and leave us some reviews. It does help in the analytics of the show getting out there and going around. So it's been just coming up to the end of the second year of the podcast. So I'm very happy with that. And thank you very much for being on board. So please, if you can, this is a call to action. To jump on your podcast platforms and leave a review and some ratings. Follow the Facebook pages, Instagram and TikTok, and share amongst your friends and family and see if we can get this show a little bit more wider and out there and get a bit more of a following. That would be fantastic. But for everyone that's stuck with me for the last 18 months, I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you very much. And here we go with Mr. Donato. Thank you. Mr. Vincent Donato, welcome to the show, mate. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for coming on. It's a nice winter's day here. At least the rain stopped, so we won't have the sound of the rain on our roofs while we're chatting.
It's quite good currently, yeah.
Now, beautiful. Vincent, we've known each other since, I believe, 2017. When we first met was actually for Ethan, your son.
It was,
did a role on Legacy, a student film. So
correct. Yeah.
And then I think of the same year we were both in a movie together. Not that we filmed together, but Charlotte and Shrapnel. That's correct, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, a couple movies. Yeah, definitely. I don't think we've actually filmed side by side yet. No. It was going back, yeah.
No. We've been around, but I think we're doing the TV series together as well. And our characters are not Blood
Correct.
City.
Correct. Yeah. We're not together yet. We say
Who knows what season 2 brings?
That's right.
So,
exactly.
Vincent, before we go too far into chatting, how about you let the viewers know a little bit about yourself, your background, where you grew up, and where you are now, and how you got into acting?
Sure. Yeah, no worries. Happy to do that. All right, cue the Italian music. Have you got that little Italian?
I can put that in post.
Yeah, chuck that in post. No, look, let's start from, say, year 10 high school. So up until year 10 high school, pretty much into sports and stuff like that. Big in soccer, really enjoyed soccer. Cricket, loved my cricket, left-hand bowler. I used to bowl around the wicket left armour because I'd always watch the cricket games and you'd see the right armers bowling on the left side. So I just figured, you've got to bowl on the left side of the wicket. So I would be a left armour around wicket, which I didn't realise at the time. And I was pretty successful at that, actually. In swinger to the right-hander.
Beautiful.
And then in year 10, I always did drama and I always enjoyed creating stuff. Even when I was in primary school, really, really enjoyed creating stuff and, doing assembly and stuff like that. So that's sort of one thing. And then, continued drama in high school. And then in year 10, there was they were auditioning for a movie. And I have no idea what the movie is to this day. But we had a chat with the director and producer and whatever. And it was just It was just in the drama room. So anyway, had a chat with that, and then I got a call back, and then I got another call back, and I thought, oh, this is pretty good. The drama teacher sort of said, oh, look, Vincent's, congratulate Vincent, pat him on the back, he's done really well, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's good. But I didn't get the role. Apparently, and this is ironic, I was too tall at the time. And anyone that knows me, I'm 5'7.5", and I say a half because every half counts when you're my height.
Fair enough.
But back then I was probably tall for my age, which I think I was. So anyway, I didn't get the role, but I kind of, I don't know, probably fell in love with the image and the thought of acting and being in the movies and stuff like that. So I continued drama year 11 and year 12. Year 12, I decided to go it was PES and SAS back then. This is in 1992. So I went with SAS because it was more performance based, and I ended up with a 20 out of 20 for drama. And that got scaled down to 18, but it was 20 out of 20 based on performance. I did a great monologue, which I was really proud of. And I thought, geez, okay, well, actually, I'm not too bad at this. So I thought, well, you know what, let's try acting after school, which is what I did for probably 3 years between ages, say, 17 and 20, 21, something like that. So I went to Actors Inc. and studied, and then just kind of felt my way around acting, I suppose. And then kind of really got a little bit, what's the word, perturbed or a bit down on myself, I suppose, because, I mean, obviously back then things were different. You've got no mobile phones. You've got no internet. So you go to an audition, you're in a room, everyone looks like you. Most look like you, but better looking or whatever, taller. And, then you're waiting for the phone to ring, and it doesn't ring. So at that stage, I was probably putting a lot of pressure on myself to succeed. And that wasn't forthcoming. So I just took a break, and it was okay. And I, at that time anyway, I had a girlfriend and stuff like that, who's my wife now. Joe. And, I had a different focus, I suppose. So probably from the age of 17 to 21, and not really knowing what I wanting to be this iconic James Dean sort of stuff. I mean, let's be honest, right?
Love it.
And it was like, there wasn't a lot of opportunity really anyway for that age group. I think that age group's really a harder age group anyway. And then, so then mum and dad had a business that they wanted to sell and couldn't sell. It was a 7-day supermarket. I had no job and really no prospects, really, let's be honest. So they kind of said, well, look, you and a mate, we can't sell this business. How about you buy it off us? Bank wouldn't give me a loan. So basically that's what we did. It was a 7-day week, 8 till 8 at night supermarket back in the day. And our best day was honestly Easter Day and Christmas Day. They were our busiest days, so we stayed open. And we eventually, paid it off. When I say, it was a mate of mine from high school, and we sold it. And that was kind of the stepping stone into my life, career, whatever. So we had that for about 4 years, and then bought a snack bar with my wife in the city, working 5 days a week. And then on weekends, I'd help the old man in the building industry. And I was never going to be in the building industry because, stuff that. But here I am. So after we sold the business and had kids, I just stayed with him pretty well. And went back to school, got my own builder's license. And now it's been, how old am I now? I'm 48 this year. So probably 10, 20, 19 years, I reckon it's been. So that I've been building, and we build new homes for clients now. And then at the age of 40, I thought, you know what? It's now or never. If I want to act, now's the time to start,
Awesome.
Getting stuck into it and giving it a crack. Giving it a crack. Yeah, the kids were a bit older, and I thought, you know what? I had the focus on the kids. I've always been into sports. So I've been coaching. I've always coached the kids and all that sort of stuff. So I really enjoy doing that. But I thought, let's work-life balance, and let's really try to hit this acting thing. So so from the age of 40 to 48, here I am.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a little bit. I mean, probably not that brief. You might have to edit that, splice it up.
No, put some Italian music to it. And it's interesting because age wise, it's pretty much the same as my journey. I think it was about 40 as well that I've jumped on board, and I did the Actors Inc. Courses as well. So we pretty much. I'm surprised we didn't even cross paths in that area there. So I'm 50 already, so you're 2 years younger than me. So. And so your business that you run now is Donato Homes.
We're Donato Homes. Yeah, no,
advertising there. This episode is sponsored by Donato Homes.
Yeah, Donato Homes.
And,
except,
and obviously that's interesting for your acting career. How does that work, running your own business, especially something in the building and homemaking? I know it's a tough industry, especially coming out of COVID, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So how do you how do you balance all that? Obviously, I'm a bit of a guess here, but your business would have to be your priority because that pays the bills.
Good guess. Yeah, it certainly is, 100%. Look, I do enjoy building. I'm lucky enough. It's a family business, so I'm involved with my cousin, my dad, myself, and my uncle. My dad and I started it pretty well, and when I say started it, we kind of fell into it. So Dad was semi-retired, buying a place, renovating it, selling it. So he was a flipper, and I was helping him out, and that's where I learned all the skills just on the job. But then I went and got my license after doing it for probably 5 or 6 years. And I said, no, I want to build for clients, Dad. And Dad was like, I don't know if that's a great idea. But anyway, here we are. So we build for clients now. I'm lucky, I'm fortunate that I've got, and this is my baby. So the business is my baby. But I'm fortunate enough, I do have the family helping me out. And we cover for each other where we can, Uncle's just had a heart operation. His son has just had a knee operation. So, it's just myself and my dad pretty much. We got subbies too, but, running the show at the moment. But they understand that acting is very important to me, which is really good. So whenever there's a gig, I have their blessing. And sometimes it's tricky to try to balance, but we make it work, which is great. So it's really good to have awesome. That.
Yeah. We talk a lot on previous episodes and stuff about trying to find that that plan B, that plan that makes things work. Yeah. So this is great. So this is an area that allows you to do your acting sort of thing. So if you get that call for an audition, you've got the space where you can do it. And if have to be on set next week, then you've got that support network there to help you out, which is brilliant, Definitely. Isn't it? I love it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, really fortunate.
So coming back to the acting world a little bit. So
sure.
I've written here with your extensive experience in both television and film. Could you share us some insights on the key differences between the two mediums? How does your approach to acting change when you're working on television versus film? And obviously, indie films are a lot different. And we'll talk a bit later about you making your own work, of course. But
sure. Look, I don't know if it changes too much, to be honest. Often in a film, you've got. It depends on the role. To me, if you ask me, it depends on the role, because if you're in a series and you're filming, concurrently, and you're in episode 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever your lead role, you really got to you've got to follow what you've created, and you've got to be consistent with what you've created. Like I'm very, very big on mannerisms and things like that. Obviously you don't want to overdo it, but you want to create something that's quite interesting as well. So for me, it's about consistency. Obviously, I haven't had a huge amount of experience on film, to be honest. I've probably, I don't know, it's probably only a couple feature films really that I've done, to be honest. Maybe 3. And most of them I've been fortunate enough to be filmed concurrently. So we're filming scenes, within 3 or 4 days. I did a really good movie with Alice Mayo Mackay. She Tooth for Tooth. That was a vampire film. Great film. We were filming there between, I reckon we started at 8 at night and finished by 1 or 2 a.m.
Wow.
And then get up and go to work again. And still got my makeup on and stuff like that. But that was a pretty good lead role for me. And that was something about the same thing. Create that character and stay consistent within that that character. So for me, film and series is not. I don't really adjust anything in terms of my acting. Obviously, theatre's different again. Theatre's a whole other kettle. And I've done a couple of theatre productions before, which I enjoy. It's just hard to find the time to do that, to be honest. So
yeah, because they have a lot more. I mean, me personally, I can't do theatre because of my shift work. I just can't commit to the rehearsal period. So, and obviously with a full-time business, you would have the same. So it's choosing your priorities, isn't it?
It's just 100%. I mean, look, I could do it, but family's very important to me as well. So it's work, family, and then there's the acting career. So it's all a balance.
You mentioned before about developing a character. So how much, you mentioned, you said you'd done some training with Actors Inc. Have you had any other training on that? And how do you approach character building for your roles?
So I trained at Actors Inc. for probably 2 or 3 years, I reckon. That was when I was, younger, 17, years old to about 20, I reckon. And then obviously got back into acting. Did a stint with was AAA Talent back then, 10-week course I reckon it was. That was the prerequisite getting on the books with them, which was great. And then obviously I'm with a new agent now, so I've just recently completed a course with them. So I've done a few courses here and there, nothing really specific to be honest. But when I create a character, I really want to get into the what, where, when. Of the role, why am I here? Why has I'll try to get in the writer's head. What is a writer looking for within this character? That's where I sort of begin, and then my mannerisms generally, I try to relate my character to say an animal where possible. If it's a shark or if it's a baboon or whatever, lion, and that's gonna, for me anyway, that helps my what's the word I'm looking for? My grasp, I suppose, of the character and how I'm going to play that role. So once I make a decision, I kind of stick to it. However, I like to stay open and adjusting. So when I'm auditioning, for example, I'll read the script, a bunch of times, maybe 10 times to start with, get a feel for what I think they think the character they want out of the character, and then I'll film it one way, and then I'll play around with it and turn it on its head a little bit, just to give a couple of options where they allow you to do that. Obviously, sometimes they do allow you to give them a couple of options. Sometimes they don't.
Nice. It's interesting talking to different actors about how they draw on certain thoughts and feelings to make their characters work, isn't it? So, I mean, there's a myriad of different methods out there.
Oh, there's so many different things. Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I think at the end of the day with me as well, I try to relate. I figure whoever's writing something has obviously seen movies, and generally a lot of things you see mirror things, and the more and you kind of get a feel for what they're looking for. Based on a previous film or whatever, so I kind of you kind of look to that as well where you can try to get in the headspace, I suppose.
And I believe you've done some voiceover work as well for is it the Phoenix Files podcast?
I did. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Is there any difference on how you develop a character that you're only portraying voice-wise as opposed to being on screen?
Voice is a lot of fun. I really enjoy voice, but the difference is, for me anyway, you want to get your point across. So you obviously you're using your you're kind of, you're hitting and you're punching, you're actually moving, and you're playing that out, but you're playing it bigger. You have, for me anyway, you have to play it big. I did a bit of voice training as well with Zoot Online. I think that was Zoot on Top. I think that's what they're called. And yeah, basically, that's for ads and things like that. Only $1.99, and make sure you bring it big, and because otherwise it's just going to be pretty dull. So,
Yes.
so kind of with the Phoenix Files, that's what we did. We bought it out. We bought it a little bit bigger. And it doesn't come out unnatural, which is strange, because you're listening to it, and I think you need to get a judge of the action, and I think that helps you when you're listening to it get a feel for the action of it all. So that's pretty much how we approach that one, just a little bit bigger and a little bit bolder.
How do you find it when you're in that? I did one film recently where I did the voiceover, and it's hard trying to picture yourself in the scene. You're in a tight booth. It can be hot, a bit stuffy. You've got the headphones on and the microphone there, and you can see the guys through the window. So I found it really not disturbing, but difficult to sort of find yourself in that moment. And then you started getting direction to, can you deliver more punch here or less punch here? And you start to go, you lose your place in the scene. Did you find that much?
One thing I find with acting, I didn't in this particular case, but one thing I find in acting is that you really have to concentrate. Concentration and blocking everything out is the key, and obviously learning lines inside out. But in the past, I've definitely lost my way when a director's given me too many instructions. But you find your way back. I think. For the big thing that I've sort of learned over the last 8 years of doing this, or 7.5, whatever it is just be prepared to play with it. Don't be set in your own way of doing something, because your way that you think is the bomb may not be the right way. And just be open to change. That's one thing that I would sort of say to everybody. Just don't be set in your way. Be open to change. And I remember I did a Thea McLeod class, and I was just sat back watching and listening to the others and whatever. And there was a particular student there who was he was all right, good guy, whatever. But he had some sort of role that he played. I can't remember what it was. And he said a certain line a certain way, like a granny, like, "Oh, grandma." And she said, "Oh, look, can you change it up? Can you do this? Can you do that?" Yeah. And he took it on board and then gave her the exact same thing. So right then I was like, nah. Yeah, so obviously, you got to change it up. And the other thing I find as well is I'll do a bunch of audition tapes. And I'll do it the way that I think is the way. Yeah, that's the way. And then I'll change it on its head. I'll do it another way. And then I'll watch it back and I'll be like, oh, hang on. Actually, so that's my advice, is just, where you can, just change it up. But like you said before, in the booth, there's people pointing at you, looking at you. It's stuffy. It's, concentration is important, and just use your imagination. Imagination is definitely the key. Put yourself in that situation where you can.
Awesome.
But yeah.
And you've done a little bit of work on some of the bigger productions. I think Wanted and Storm Boy. Both I've done both myself, and Heaven's Burning.
Yeah.
What's some of your most memorable moments on those sets, and what did you take away from being on those huge sets compared to independent films, which are a lot smaller, obviously?
Yep, definitely. Okay, I'll start you off with Heaven's Burning. Because I was 17 or 18 years old when I was an extra on the Heaven's Burning, and there was so Russell Crowe was obviously in it. There was Robert Mamoni and Sal Coco, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with either of them, but at the time they were pretty big. There was a show called Heartbreak High.
Yep.
The actual
just being remade now.
I know exactly. But this is the original. This is the old one. Anyway, so Sal Coco was really big on that. So basically I was an extra on set for 3 days, I reckon it was, right? and I'm on set, and it was filmed in the CBD. So there's people everywhere watching. And we're there on set, and I'm getting touched up by makeup and whatever, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. Um, anyway, so I'm hanging out on set with Sal Coco and Robert, and we're just chatting and, pretty much shooting the shit and whatever, giving me a bit of acting advice and whatever. And I knew who they were, and I didn't know the role they had or whatever. Anyway, this whole thing culminated into one scene where they rob a bank. And I'm just an extra walking into the bank pretty well. That's pretty much it. So they rob a bank, come out of the bank, shoot. No, they get into a getaway car. I think the police officer or whoever's in the bank, what do they call it, the guard, shoots the car as they come out of the getaway, and it crashes into a florist. So that was the scene. Russell Crowe was on set, but he didn't really hang around with us peasants, unfortunately. He did his thing and went back to the trailer. But yeah, it was really good. So hanging out with those guys, it was like, wow, that was my first real taste. And I was like, geez, I like this. This is great. Action, you get the megaphone, action, you do your thing. And then, fast forward to, say, Storm Boy and Wanted and stuff like that. Just good fun to be on these big sets. To me, there's not a huge amount of difference from the big to the smaller. Obviously, there's more of a setup. There's a bigger setup. I've just been an extra on these, so let's be honest. They're not very personable, as you probably come across. You're just a number. You do your thing.
It's one thing there. My auntie once said to me, because I said I'm just an extra, and she said, "No, you're not just an extra." So we always tend to. Yeah, it's still part of the movie. The movies don't work without us. So,
Spot on.
I do the same. I tend to want to talk it down, but hey, without the extras, the movie didn't work, and you never know where it's goes. So, I think you agree with me that a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to do any extra work anymore. I'm an actor." But unless you're getting job after job after job, the extra work, A, it's money in your bank, and B, you just don't know where it's going to go, do you?
That's true. I mean, look, I've seen lots of extras that sort of get held up to, feature spots and whatever as well. So you never know on the day what you're going to get. That's one thing with being an extra, and it's great fun. It is great, fun, and you're getting paid. So I recently did a body double. It was a body double in Run Rabbit, Run Rabbit Run.
Run Rabbit Run, yeah.
Yeah, that's on at the moment on Netflix. So I've got Mum. I was just at my daughter had a show for her drama for school, and I went up with an old schoolmate of mine who was there, and Mum's like, "Oh, Vincent's on Netflix now." I'm like, "Oh God, Mum, I'm a body double on Netflix." So I was like, "Oh wow," but that was good fun. Being a body double for Damon Herriman.
Oh wow,
he's a great actor. Yeah, well, obviously we're similar size.
Yeah, another short actor.
Another short ass. But
he's a bit older than
guy.
you, though.
He is. I mean, I was a drone shot. But great. It was really good to I didn't know what to expect. Once again, you rock up, you don't know what to expect. But they showed me video of what he did. So I looked at the video of what he did about 3 or 4 times and mimicked that. And that was really cool. I thought, wow, this is really cool. I haven't seen it as yet, unfortunately. But I wouldn't mind giving it a crack to check out the movie. I reached out to Damon, as you do, afterwards. Very nice guy. Very down to earth. Very nice guy. Yeah. So
he knows his stuff. I've done a few Zoom calls through Stage Milk where he's done the interview and stuff.
Oh, really?
He's just so open to helping other actors. I love it.
Very down to earth. Very humble. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Now, going back a little bit, so our relationship, as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, we first met on Legacy when Ethan played the younger version of my son in the film. So as a father of 2 teenage children now, Maya and Ethan, I know they do a bit of acting. So has your influence on acting been inspired them or the other way around? Or how's that work as a family of actors?
Yeah. So what started the whole thing? Obviously, I was big in acting, but Ethan would watch a movie, but he wouldn't watch a movie. He'd act it. He'd be acting movies ever since he was like 3 years old. Loved dressing up and being Bob the Builder or whoever, and using
Love
that
it.
imagination. Yeah, yeah. So like, he'd watch Shrek, and he wouldn't be watching Shrek. He'd be slaying the dragon with Shrek. He'd have his sword and his knight. So that's why I thought, oh, well, let's get him into acting. And then obviously, so they did Theatre Bugs, and then Maya followed as well, and she wanted to do Theatre Bugs, so she did Theatre Bugs. So that's sort of what started the whole thing with them, and that probably pushed a little bit because of me with acting. Let's be honest, because I enjoyed it so much. And then obviously tried to help them out where I could to get them into feature films and stuff like that, and shorts or whatever. So they got started again when I got started. Asked the question, do you guys want to do it? Yeah, we wouldn't mind giving it a crack. So they did, and that's where Ethan obviously got into Legacy with yourself. And I must say that was a very good role for you. You did very well with that.
Thank you.
That was fantastic.
I had fun with that one. That was good.
Yeah, you did, and you could see that as the aggressive father, I suppose we could say.
I tend to play bad dads all the time for some reason. It doesn't reflect on my real life.
No, it doesn't, and I can see that. I can see that with your own kids and stuff, and that's acting, isn't it?
Yes.
So
yes.
That was really good. And it was a great experience for Ethan. He loved it, and I think as well, you were really good with him as well, because I was obviously just lurking in the background, just sort of making sure, because he was, I don't know how old he was, maybe he was about 8 or 9. I don't know. He was quite young. But so he really enjoyed that and he's very proud of that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So they've had a break. He's having a break at the moment from acting. He's just working on career and stuff like that.
Okay.
And Maya is as well. She's just sort of got it on in the background. She enjoys singing now. So
I've seen that.
She's participating in her school, plays and stuff like that. So
awesome. Awesome. And we got to do just reminiscing a little bit as well. So we did Shrapnel together, and rest in peace, the director Sean Watts. Unfortunately, we lost him a few years back. Yeah. How do you feel when you get into these projects at the start? Shrapnel had all these ideas of where it was going to go. I mean, we knew the story, and we did the the table read to start with.
Yeah, the table read.
We filmed that. I think he did it as a proof of concept, didn't he?
Bit of a proof of concept. Yep.
Again with Ethan getting to handle the firearm and sneak over while I was hiding behind an old couch.
That was great. Yeah, that was really good. Yep.
So, how do you find with those, the independent films and anything that comes up and being so excited at the start, then it trickles off and
There's been a few of them. And I think what it is, it's just experience. The more you do, you're kind of like, oh, well, look, we'll go to it, give it the best we can. And if something comes of it, great. And if it doesn't, well, it is what it is. In a way, acting's like, I don't want to come across the wrong way. So it's not a hobby, but it's like, I look at it like, if I go out and I play a game of soccer, I've used a day. Have I wasted a day? I don't know. I've enjoyed myself. I've played soccer. I may have lost 5-0. Same as acting. If I go on set for a day, use a day, and it never gets shown, well, it is what it is. And I've had a few of them. Obviously, Shrapnel, I've had some I've been on I've never seen ever.
Yes.
So I've wasted 3 or 4 days if you look at it that way. But you know what? It's all experience. And it is what it is when you're in the independent sort of film. You don't know, So
and you're meeting people, isn't it? It's that networking and that
you're
fun.
Networking. I don't have any issues with it because you don't know. People are at different stages of their life and got a lot of other things going on in the background. So I've made my own things. I don't know how hard it is. So it's not an easy process. So that's what I find. I mean, there was one role that was fantastic. I don't think I should mention. Maybe I'll mention it, and if we're not happy, we can pause and turn it over later. But there's Gabriel AD. That was very excited about. That was Vampire, great role for me. It was like, wow, this is going to be fantastic, and nothing ever came of it. Which was a little bit disappointing at the time, but you move forward. There's the one thing with acting, and that's the one thing I love about acting. There's always opportunities. So
definitely,
you can never turn around and think, oh, this is the one. But there'll be something else, so it is what it is.
A lot of it's the background stuff that we don't know what's happening, and we can go in this a little bit now because you're making your own work. But Warpath Chronicle, for example, is a big point that such a big South Australian production that's now finished all the filming, and everyone that's been on it is they just keep pushing and say, where is it? Where is it?
Where is it?
What we don't know is what's happening in the background and the difficulties of finding distributors and meeting guidelines and everything. I know I won't go too much into it because that's up to the filmmakers, but that's the difficulties of it is we don't see that in the background. An actor just comes on set and does their bit and then goes home and expects a big budget production up on the big screen 6 weeks
100%,
later.
100%. Yeah,
So
that's right.
So you're, excuse me. So you're making some of your own work now too, I believe. So what's...
Yeah, I've slowed down a bit, to be honest. I've got too much going on in the background at the moment. But yeah, I've made a few bits and pieces. I started off with a short film, Wrong Tracks. And once again, that was primarily a vehicle for my children, really.
Okay.
I wanted them during the holidays. It was shot during the school holidays. I think 2 weeks of the holidays we took. I thought, you know what, give them a bit of on-set experience, and role and whatever. So I wrote that for them, and I wrote that we were on set once again. Myself and the children were on set for Playing with Fire together. That was in McLaren Vale. We did that. I think it was 3 or 4 days, and they made some really good friends with some other children actors. And I thought, and that got me thinking. Hang on, there's a story here. So so I wrote a story about that, and we made that film. And once again, no huge intentions. We put it out to festivals. We got mentioned in a couple of festivals and stuff. It was all right. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Obviously, it's a short film. You're governed by I think it's like 10 or 12 minute time frame. That's the sort of max. That's the max. So we cut heap off. But it kind of works. It sort of ends probably a little bit abruptly, but I'm pretty happy with the performances
for the
way
first time,
shot.
of course.
Yeah. So and I enjoy writing too when I can. So I did that, and then obviously from there I thought, let's do a bit of comedy. So that was a drama. We went to comedy. Did Stuck Together that I sort of had high hopes for.
That was good. That was good fun to watch. I enjoyed that.
It was good fun to make.
You can see that just in the characters. Like you can almost envisage the background, and I think you showed a bit of outtakes and stuff like that too. So you could see everyone having fun together. So
it was good fun. And I've written other episodes as well. But I'm not going to say never say never. But at the moment, it's sort of a bit far from me. From my mind, if I had what I'm finding for me because I wrote, directed, and acted in it, it's too much for me. I can't do everything. I'm not good enough to do everything. I'm not Jason Bateman. He can do anything. But if I had somebody, if somebody saw it and said, look, I wouldn't mind giving this a crack with you. I would probably look into it. Because I know where I want it to go. I did have a chat early on with quite a few people that were, a bit higher in the industry, but it's very hard to, get that across. But yeah, so we did that. And then I wrote, like a bit of a mafia sort of spoof type of thing that I started making and I sort of put on hold for the time being. So.
It can be tough, isn't it? I mean, we're both involved in a lot of indie films. Blood City at the moment we mentioned before that we're both on. So that's a production that's local Adelaide filmmakers have put together. So I haven't seen. Can you talk much about your role on Blood City and what your involvement is?
I don't want to say too much. To be honest,
no, because it hasn't
quite
a
mysterious character. Look, he's involved with the lab side of things. in a way, a bit of a is it like a DC or a what's the other one? Marvel type of bad guy sort of
Yeah.
character.
Okay.
In the lab, creating certain things for money, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
With a special, don't want to use the word special, with a certain link to the boys. Let me say that.
Nice. Yeah.
I don't know if I go way too much.
No, mine's quite a similar story as well. I just more wanted to touch on Blood City just for the promotion of it, but the guys
Right,
have done
it looks fantastic.
and
from where they
really
started.
really focused on their fight scenes, which is great. Now, do you get to do any fighting, or are you like mine?
I'm disappointed in that, actually.
Yeah.
One of the things I said to the boys is, guys, I did karate for 4 years. I'm down. Oh, sorry about that. That might have been me.
No.
I did karate for 4 years. I'm down. But no, unfortunately, no, not yet. Not yet. I'm hoping.
I mean, it's a certain skill set itself, isn't it, on-screen fighting? So I've done a little bit, and it's certainly something you really, really need to focus on. So
it takes a lot of concentration. I've done a bit where I've been hit and spitting blood and whatever at the right time and holding the blood in your mouth and, getting it right. Oh, shit, I spat it out too early or, So.
I get that. Now, you've got a very creative family. So your wife, Jo, is an author. How many books has she spat out?
She's written
now?
2 books. She's written 2 books, yeah. And she's writing another one. However, she's gone through the process similar to what I did with acting. I think she went through the process. This is really hard. So she just got herself a full-time job. She's been working for about a year now.
Okay.
When I say a full-time job, she's got 2 jobs. She works with children, which she loves. She's at a school. She does the OSH after school care. And she works as an SSO with a child with special needs. So she's working 9 till 6. Every day,
longer.
5 days, and then obviously trying to catch up at home and whatever. So her writing's been put on the back burner a bit, but it's the same as us. We're creative. We're always thinking. There's always something going on in the background. The thing I love with Jo is she looks at everything slightly differently to what I do. It's similar, but she's got a creative, her writing creative sort of way, and it's really good. It's really good to see that. So
awesome. Any plans to collaborate together on a project? Maybe turn one of her books into a movie?
I would love to. She's got a book that she's written that would make a great series. I've got a role picked out for myself, which she thinks I'm not good enough looking for, which is disappointing when your wife says that. But,
thank you, honey.
Yeah, it's like, okay. So she's got a really good one. It's called Crossfire. And I think, and it's in a very similar vein to, what's that one? What's the vampire one called again?
Which one?
The one with Edward and, I should know it. It's pretty popular.
You should. I don't think
you don't know it either.
No, I don't know it either. That's a teenage girl, so is it? Is that the one you're talking about?
The one with Robert Pattinson in it.
I'll have to ask Connor. Connor's not in the background.
Gosh, it's not that hard. Anyway, we'll think about that later. But it's very, very similar to that in a way. It's about a 17-year-old female, Harper, who is going to the formal. She kind of sees shadows. She goes to her formal with her best friend, and an accident occurs that flips everything on its head for her. And she ends up sort of being committed into an asylum type of scenario where these figures manifest themselves kind of play. It's like a good versus evil type. It's very good. I like the way she writes. She writes in a first person narrative, and it's very easy reading. So anyway,
nice.
I'm her husband, so I'd say those type of things.
I love it.
But that would make
Excuse me. Yeah, definitely, and it's great that you've got that that you're all together. So you could, the word collaborate came up before, so you would be able to collaborate and say, get her sort of idea of how you want to make it to a movie, because writers are much different from what they're putting into a book to what they want to see on
Spot
film,
on.
so to speak, don't
Yeah.
they? And as an actor and a director and a writer, you're now building a very diverse skill set. How do you see yourself evolving as an artist in the future? I know you didn't want to use the word that it's a hobby, and you're a lot like me. You treat it professionally.
Yep.
Are there any specific projects or roles that you'd like to do in the future, or where do you want to see yourself going?
Yeah, I've got a clear mindset of what I want, which I never had previously, which is good, I suppose. Look, I would absolutely love to be, have a you don't have to have a lead role, but a role in a good Australian film or series. That's definitely that's definitely on my bucket list. That's a clear goal of what I want. I mean, obviously, if something international comes up, sure, too, that'd be fantastic. But obviously, Aussie is where I want to begin if I can. I like the idea of being a character type actor. That's what I kind of not so much the lead. I'm not really I mean, if that came along, great. But the character sort of actor, the memorable type actor, that I don't know, Christopher Walken sort of type of guy. That's sort of he's not there for long, but he's there and he leaves an impression. That's what I like. That's what I like. Yeah. So that's kind of the goal. Yeah. I mean, and obviously, I'll get an audition in from my agent, and I will work solidly with that script for a couple of days, and try to send out my best work in an audition. I treat it very seriously. I don't muck around. I mean, I play around in the studio at home and muck around with different characters or whatever, but it's serious. I don't, I treat it very seriously.
And that's leads into the business side of acting. Now you run your own business with Donato Home. So do you take that skill set into your acting as well and run the business side of your acting professionally?
Yes and no. I probably could do a lot more in regards to that, but I'm not tech savvy, so that puts me behind already. So getting show reels edited and stuff like that, I need to go externally to do that. And my children aren't really tech savvy in that way either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so which is interesting. But yeah, so I could do a lot more, but I don't know. It's a bit of a fine line, I reckon, as well. Yeah, I don't know. You don't want to self-promote too much, and then you don't want to not put yourself out there enough either. So it's a bit of both. One thing that I'll mention though, with yourself, with Warpath, I reckon I contacted you with Warpath, and I saw something probably on your Adelaide Extras or maybe on one of your posts with Warpath, and I contacted you, and you said, "Look, have a chat with Aaron. He's a good guy," and I did. So I didn't know him for a bar of soap. I contacted him. It went from there, and obviously we've become really good friends since. And he's doing Blood City. Obviously, he did Warpath. And we get on really well. And I got a small part in Warpath, which was really good. So my advice to anybody is, don't feel too silly to not contact somebody because you don't know. Always obviously be humble and be nice. But don't be afraid, because when you're afraid, you leave yourself wondering, what if I contacted him? Wonder what would happen, or whatever,
Awesome.
Yeah. So I just thought, give it a crack. I think I wrote something like, "Oh, look, apologise if I sound a little bit, weird or odd to contact you like this or something." I said something weird like that, but is it, how you going? I heard you're doing Warpath. If there's a role for me, I'd be really interested. Something like that. Nothing crazy.
That's what's great about Aaron is he loves the South Australian acting community, both crew and actors, and he's open to people knocking on his door like that. So that's
great.
Brilliant.
It's really good. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's I hate the word networking. I've hated it in my full-time job that I do, but it depends on how you do it. And I don't like. I've always talked the concept of networking as the jobs for the boys, so to speak. I don't like that aspect of it, but knowing people in the industry and having knowing what they can give you and what you can give them, quid pro quo,
being in the
sort of thing.
being in the right circles. Like, so the difference between when I was younger to now is obviously the circle. And a lot of that's probably from you, from Adelaide Actors, and extras. Like, it's the group that I've fallen into with yourself, Tim Hawkins, Aaron, Paddy, Jason now, and Mark Clement, all those sorts of guys.
Yeah.
Stephanie and girls, Crystal, like you said.
Eva, you've done a bit of work with Eva as well, haven't you?
Eva can't forget Eva.
No.
Can't forget Eva. Eva, Carolyn, Rebecca, all those sorts of people. It's a really good group, and it makes a massive difference. And if there's a new actor on set and they sort of say to me, oh, look, what do I do? Can you help me or whatever? I was like, yeah, look, let's get into that group. I'll put you into this and that and whatever and see how you go. Go from there. I mean, can't guarantee success. I haven't reached the success that I wanted yet,
But we're all the same.
It's the journey. Is it not? It's the journey. So I'm prepared to go on the journey and see where it takes.
Definitely.
And if I get somewhere, fantastic. But if I don't, I'll die trying. And I think that's important. And I kind of think to myself, okay, if I was 17, I stuck it out, where would I be? I don't know.
Yes. You don't.
You would never know. You would never know that.
And I've talked about the woulda, coulda, shoulda sort of thing. You can't look back that way. But thank you very much for your comments about the Adelaide Actors and Extras group, because
that's true.
That feedback comes back. It's not a lot, but it's nice to know that all that community is working and it's putting people together. I love it. So so just before we wind up, I did read somewhere that you are a big Elvis fan. Is that correct?
Certainly am. Yeah, I love Elvis.
Does that influence your acting in any way? How does Elvis come into your life? Not at all. So,
no. Okay, so I've got my uncle who I work with now, and he was a massive Elvis fan, and I just thought he was the coolest guy ever. He would eat juicy fruit chewies. He'd chew juicy fruit chewies and all that sort of stuff. And so I started getting into Elvis, and obviously, I don't know, just fell in love with the music, I suppose. I mean, I like a diverse range of music, but Elvis is up there. Obviously, the Beatles, Buddy Holly, that sort of 60s stuff. Then I go to 70s, Hendrix, The Doors, all that sort of stuff. Led Zeppelin. But Elvis has always had a special. I don't know why, but growing up, it was almost like he was an uncle. I don't know. I can't explain it. I know that sounds weird, but there's some sort of affinity. I'm not sure what it is. But so I've been to Graceland. That was a lifelong dream to go to Graceland. I went to Graceland, and that was amazing. Sun Records and all that sort of stuff. And just cruising around in Bill Street in Memphis, Tennessee, like walking in Memphis. Amazing. But no, he hasn't. I don't think he's influenced me in terms of acting other than, I mean, look, I've never seen a whole Elvis movie. I'm not going to lie to you. So not saying he was a bad actor, because he wasn't, but the movies are pretty average. But the one thing about Elvis is that he lived in a small city. He was a poor guy, and he made it. And I suppose it's that story that you kind of think, wow, and there's so many people trying to do the same thing. I know that. That's the reality of it. But that's probably one thing that resonated with me the most, the fact that, he was 18 years old and he's working. I think he was either working in the cinema or he was at the cinema with his girlfriend at the time. I can't remember which. And they started playing That's All Right Mama on the radio. And one of his cousins, and I think the disc jockey at the time had it on repeat because it was so popular. He just kept playing it over and over again, as you do. And one of his cousins went and got him, like, Elvis, your song's on the radio. Holy shit. And then he went into the radio station with the guy and had a chat with him, small town in Memphis, Tennessee.
Wow.
So, all that sort of stuff, I suppose, what resonates in me. But yeah, so just
that's great.
It. Yeah.
That's a nice little story there to end the show on. So, Vincent, thank you very much. I want to ask you one last question before we let you go. I know you've got some things on this afternoon.
I appreciate that.
And you can take your time if you need some time to think about it, and I can edit it out. But
Oh, here we
because
go.
I didn't give you a heads up. My apologies. But
Okay.
you've probably already given these anyway. But what three things would you recommend to actors that they develop or build on to enhance their career, whether that's here in South Australia, or anywhere in the world? Because I've got listeners everywhere.
Sure. Resilience, number one. I think that's the most important thing, to be honest. Just keep taking it on the chin. You're going to have auditions. You're not going to hear back. It's going to get a bit disappointing. It's probably going to get depressing. But keep going. Believe in yourself and have resilience. That's my number one. Believe in yourself and resilience. I know it's two things, but
Works.
So yeah, that's the first thing. And then, like I said earlier, learn your lines as well as you can, and obviously aim to say them as naturally as possible. But tip it on its head where you can. Don't be afraid to change. That's the second thing I would think. Resilience, and just keep going. I know it's very simple, but keep going, and that's kind of resilience too. But that's kind of it for me anyway at the moment. And it's not so much about where you get; it's the journey to get there as well. Because if we all just got there straight away, the journey is just as important as the destination, I think.
I love that. And you were saying before, just learn your lines. Do you have trouble with that, or does it come easy to you? Do you have any techniques that you use?
Oh, look, I'm finding it easier the more that I do, and it's the same as anything, I suppose. But when I started out, I would write them down. For me now, it's a matter of just reading them a bunch of times, over and over again, knowing what you want to say, knowing why it's written. The where, the why, the how, is important because, you don't have to get it word for word. I mean, I try to get it word for word where I can because for me, I figure the writer's written that for a reason. But having said that as well, there may be a certain word that kind of like doesn't work for me.
Fair enough.
So I'll use another word in that place. But it's quite specific, and I kind of think, well, you know what, they've written that, so if you know them, doing the dishes, say your lines, brushing your teeth, you put them in your, whatever. But for me, and the reason that I love acting as well is I could never switch off with the business. So at night, things are going over my head. Oh, I need to get bricks here, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. Now I've got lines running through my head all the time, whether it's a monologue that I'm learning or whether it's a script I have to learn. And that really helps me just relax. And it's amazing. So that's my relaxation technique when I'm going to bed, to be honest.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So do what works for you, I suppose.
Well, thank you very much, Vincent. Now, where can people find you? You're on social media. So do you have your own actors page?
I've got a Vincent John Donato on Instagram, and that's probably, and that's not an actor's page as such, but that's a public page. And that's the best one. You're going to see my silly TikTok videos and whatever crap I do that stresses my children out.
And you've got a nice profile on IMDb as well with your photo up there and all your work, so people can check that out. I'll put some links in the show notes. So
I appreciate that.
Vincent, thank you very much. This has been brilliant to have a chat to you. It's with my podcast being monthly. It's trying to find that balance of getting guests from everywhere, and it's nice to be able to come back home and have someone local and someone that I've got some really close connections to. So it's great.
That.
And
thanks for having me.
Thank you. And we've developed a nice journey together. So I'm looking forward to that journey continuing in future projects as they come up. So
100%.
Thank you very much. Great to talk to you, Vincent.
All the best, mate. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
No, see you.